No. What did we say? What was it?
Hello and welcome to the MNM'S Podcast. This is Mimi and Masha. Let's do it simple. We're both kind of in the sad mood these days, so we're not gonna do the full introduction, but here we are.
Yeah, episode 7.
Episode 7. Also, we apologize that we're not posting that much. We took a
Yeah,
break
because
for a
life
month.
is life.
Yes, we took a break to begin with in August because everybody takes a month off in August. Um,
Yep.
Everybody in Cyprus takes a month off, to be honest. I had a week off in August from my work. Um, Mimi, I think your work are also closed down for like a few days.
That's right, yeah.
Yes. And then September, it was my birthday, and I was preparing for it. I was very busy. I went to Portugal. So yeah.
How about you tell us about your trip? Something happy, something exciting.
Oh my God, my trip was half bad and half good.
Elaborate. What do you mean?
Like, so I am part of like an international group called Yes Theory. Uh, so it started as a YouTube channel, but its audience grew internationally and all around the world, and that's one way of meeting people in certain countries, or people can show you around, they can host you, and this is where I find like most of my new friends. Some became really, really lifelong friends. Other are just, seasoned friends, and that's okay. I mean, we come and go in people's life, and it's all, you know. So basically, I found. Okay, so let's begin. I went to Portugal.
Yes.
The reason why I went to Portugal was because it's an astrological meaning. It's because one of my lines of life and like fortune and love and stuff like that is passing through Portugal. So I wanted to visit it just to see the vibes of it and like to see how Portugal is and stuff like that and just chill and also because it was my birthday. I am finally 25 years old. I don't know if I should feel young or old at this point.
Something in the middle? You can do that.
Yeah, I mean, true. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I stayed in Porto and I stayed in Lisbon. So in both of these places, I had hosts, and both of them were from Yes Theory. And the one from Porto, it wasn't like I found a stranger on the internet. It was like a friend of a friend. So like another person knew him personally, and they hosted him prior to me visiting, like a month prior to me visiting. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, they told me he's a very chill dude. He's very nice. And I'm like, oh, amazing. And I told him, like, hey, I'm coming. So I arrived in Porto on Friday, and on Saturday, it was my birthday. So I told him, like, hey, like, Saturday is my birthday, blah, 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 chat, chat, chat. So we were supposed to meet up at 5 in the afternoon on Friday. And around 3, we talked. So, like, he recommended me a lunch place where I could eat some Portuguese fish, like a special. I don't remember the names, so bear with me about that.
It's okay, it's okay. Go on.
So I ate and it was amazing. And after that, it kind of like lost contact, and he wasn't replying to my messages. I was calling him nonstop, and at this point, like I had luggage, my luggage, like at a friend of a friend from the Yes Theory uh, place, and I went to their place, and I was supposed to be meeting the God Five. He ghosted me, like no communication whatsoever. The people kind of like, hey, like we need to go to some places, and like we know you're a friend of our friend, but like we have like you have to go and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. It is like completely normal. Like you need to go somewhere, and like I cannot stay in your apartment.
Yeah.
So I from 5 until a 7:30, I call him nonstop. On Instagram, I call him nonstop. Then send a message to the other guy that I knew, like I knew this guy from from this B guy, and he was like, "Oh, that's weird. Like I don't know what's happening. Let me call him as well." He's also not
Yeah.
answering. He gave me his WhatsApp number. I was calling him through WhatsApp as well and stuff like that, blah blah blah. So he text, and I was like, okay, so people are kicking me out. I have no communication. So I booked a hostel last minute because I had nowhere else to go, and I was like already tired because I was traveling through, like I had a layover of like 12 hours in Switzerland and overnight. So I had to go somewhere, like I was tired already. I wanted to shower and just sleep.
Yeah.
So
Longest day ever.
it was like both amazing and both tiring because like the first part was really amazing day. Like I did so many things. I saw a lot of Porto. I ate really delicious food. I was just enjoying myself. And then like 3 hours of no communication, trying to contact the person who was supposed to host me and stuff like that. And this guy contacted me after 8, when like I already checked in the hostel, and apparently also my bank account decided to lock my card at that time, so I couldn't
Why?
use my
Why?
card. They do that usually sometimes on Fridays for some reason, so people couldn't use their cards.
The fuck? Why? Oh my god. Did you have cash? Like, was it okay? What happened? You just pause there.
Yeah, so apparently, because it doesn't only do that to me, it did that a lot to my friend as well because we have the same bank account. I mean, like use the same bank,
Mm-hmm.
and it does it like for me because I don't really usually like use my cards on Friday nights out. Apparently like it uses it if it's like a above 30 euros sum. And like it's not very good when you're trying to pay and like suddenly your card is just like decline, 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 cancel, cancel, cancel. And it's not that you don't have money in your account. It's just like the card doesn't work. And I tried Revolut, like to transfer money to Revolut, and then like I realized that basically my bank account like locked my account for some reason. And apparently the bank account decided to remove customer service after 6 in the evening, so they don't have 24/7 anymore, because they had that few years ago in case people like are abroad and something happens to their card. And basically on their website it is linked to a GCC accounts, which is like an system that basically like transfers money, but it doesn't
Yeah,
have
third
anything
party.
like it's a third party, and it's just like this is our customer service 24/7, and we're just like calling them. It's like, no, we're not. And I'm like, but it was linked in my bank account, like what the fuck. Anyway, I paid cash. Thankfully I had cash, although I don't recommend last minute hostels booking. It was 40
Yeah,
euros.
yeah,
Oh my God. Uh, and thankfully the guy, because I was telling him about the whole situation and I was very upset, and I told him like, hey, tomorrow's my birthday as well, and this guy's not responding. He ghosted me, and he gave me like a towel for free because you have to pay for the towels usually in hostels. And
yeah.
I booked the closest hostel to that to apartment place that I was with, like, so I kind of didn't really care about the amenities that the hostel had or stuff like that. So the guy
Yeah.
gave me for free. He just told me like to bring it before breakfast, so because he's gonna be working the shifts, and so the other person people will not see that he kind of illegally
Oh,
gave me a towel.
no, that's sweet.
Yeah, that is very sweet. So I went to the room. I met with some girls. I talked a little bit with them. One of them was very nice, and I asked her if I can like talk about my frustration about this guy because like I'm in another country. He was supposed to be a host, and like if he couldn't host me, he could just tell me to begin
Mm,
with. And because like I had a reference from him, so it kind of like, and it wasn't just one person. He hosted two people.
yeah.
And that's why I was kind of like okay, and I didn't book a hostel, but like at this point, like he could just told me to begin with, like, hey, I cannot host you this time period, like like I'm busy or like stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you know, so this guy texts me after 8:30, I think. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I passed out. I didn't realize, and now I'm rushing to emergency. To the hospital. I have some infection. He didn't tell me what he has. So basically, he just like he told me this, and then he just disappeared again. And then he was like, "Oh, I'll try to find a host for you. I'll try to contact my friends and stuff like that." And I was like, "It's fine. Like I booked the hostel." And he was like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that. You could have been waiting for me." And I'm like, yeah, I've been waiting since 5 fucking o'clock in the afternoon. And anyway,
Yeah.
after that he rushed. I think he rushed to the hospital and stuff like that. The next morning, I sent him like a message. And no, on Friday, I was like, okay, so if you couldn't host me today, but can you at least host me tomorrow because it is pretty expensive to book last minute hostels. And the guy was like, yeah, yeah, of
And
course, no, no, no worries, no worries. And the next day, I asked him again, how are you feeling and stuff like that. He was like, oh, they told me to stay overnight at the hospital. We are still waiting for tests. And I'm just like, at this point, I'm thinking that even if it's, okay, give me a second. Like at
yeah.
this point I'm kind of thinking like, are you telling me the truth? Or like, because I don't feel like, well, there are tests that are 20 like that need more analysis and they need more time, but at the same time, like usually like it's blood analysis that they're doing and they can see the infection from blood analysis. And especially when he told me like, oh, something wrong with my stomach, I have an infection there. And usually like he didn't mention any surgery, so if he wants like a swab from it, you have to open and get like a sample from it to get an idea. So for me this was kind of like starting to get weird, and I like,
Yeah.
so, and he was and I was like, but you will host me, right? And he was like, yeah, yeah, of course, of course. After 3, he ghosted me again,
Oh
and
shit.
in the afternoon, and I was just like, you know what, fuck, I'm gonna book another hostel. And the one that I was staying in, got sold out because it's Saturday, and people like
Yeah.
book last minute usually if something happens. So I found another one. It was a bit cheaper, like 35 euros this time, but it had breakfast in the morning.
That's good.
Um, yeah, also, I met another Russian person in the hostel, and she gave me a like breakfast. She like gave me like instant kasha. How
Oh.
how do they call it?
Um. Oat.
Instant oats. Yeah, so because it's a very Russian thing. So she gave me this for like as a present for my birthday, because like
Mm.
she didn't buy breakfast, I didn't buy breakfast, and she was like, well, what you want, because I have, and because she was leaving that evening anyway, so she had extras in her bag because she was surfing in Portugal, and this is like her like one day to explore Porto.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yes.
That's so kind.
Yeah, so yeah, in the morning we kind of both of us explore together. So there is a free tour. People ask money at the end, but like I usually leave before that, so I don't finish the tour usually. So I did that
Yeah.
tour. I did like about like an hour, and then I had to go to the library Lelo because I had a confirmation that at 12 I can go there, and I bought a ticket for that, and So I went there. It was magical. I asked a random person to take pictures of me. The pictures were very nice. Uh,
Yes.
so yay! All of it was very overcrowded, and yeah, I was like too crowded. But I bought two books. One was included in my ticket, and the other one was Harry Potter, the 25th edition, because apparently this year is the
Ooh.
25th anniversary of the first book.
On your 25th birthday. Yay.
Yes, yeah, not on my 20, like I mean the year 97. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah,
book
yeah.
got released at the beginning of the year. But like, so yeah, I was just like, I'm gonna buy, like, it says 25, like it's my birthday, like it's my sign, I'm gonna buy it. I bought
Yes.
it.
Yay.
Then I was supposed to meet with another Yes fam, and he couldn't host me because he just moved to Porto, and his roommate, well, he didn't ask him, but like he said that we're not really good, really like on good terms with them, so he doesn't want to ask. And I'm just like, yeah, fair, that's fair. But he was like, well, it is your birthday, so we can still hang out. I'm like, yay!
Yeah.
So I had about 2 hours before meeting him, and I was like, what can I do in those 2 hours? Let me go and make a tattoo.
Why not?
Why not? So I went last minute and I made a tattoo, although it was a bit over above the price range that I was thinking that it's gonna be. I was thinking the tattoo is gonna be like, 50, 60 euros, but no, it was 110 euros.
Ooh.
Um, yes. It was a bit expensive, but because the person was doing it by the size rather than by the time spent, so I should have found like a tattoo shop that does it based on how much time they're spending on the tattoo rather than, um, you know,
The size. Yeah.
the size of it. Because he wanted to charge me 130 euros, and then I was like, no, 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 that's too much for me, like 110 max. And he was like, yeah, okay, 110.
How's it healing right now?
Oh, it's healing quite well. I mean, I even during the tattoo, I didn't feel any pain, to be honest. I was like confused, like I don't feel any pain. Why is that? The tattoo is slowly like peeling. Well, it's supposed to be starting peeling, but like kind of like right now, it's kind of breaking.
Mm.
And because the lines are very thin, so like I cannot really
Mm.
see if it's like like some of it is like peeled already or like it's a peeling. So I still feel like the lines are still there, like some of them, but I think some of them kind of like already fell off. But it's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy
So
birthday.
thank you. So after that so so I bought so after that I went with another person that well, Ignacio's his name was, and he was amazing, and we talked the whole day. We went around. We went around Porto. He made me try it Franciscana, which is another Portuguese food, which was like very heavy. Oh my God.
What is
And
it?
it's
Describe it.
basically like a sandwich in gravy, and the sandwich has like five different types of meats,
Ooh.
or like hams or bacon and stuff like that. And it's just like it's so heavy, and the gravy as well, like it's so heavy, and also the sandwich is like in cheese, like wrapped in cheese, and like there's bread and there's cheese wrapped on it, and also it's like poured like all over with gravy, so it's like basically a sandwich in a soup.
That sounds delicious to me.
Well, it is very delicious. I'm not gonna be like it's not delicious, but it was just weird. Like not something I'm used to. But
Yeah.
it was very nice. But I don't think I'm gonna like make it my dish, and I'm not gonna be eating it every day. It is a very heavy dish. During lunchtime, another person joined us, but he was this guy is traveling around the world trying to find a place for himself. Let's say that. Sorry, just my cat is trying to open the door and he's trying to put the paw under the door.
Oh my god.
Attention seeking whore. That's his nickname.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so
Oh my
he met this Ignatius met this guy from couch surfing. So apparently, I didn't know about this. I knew that you could find places to sleep at someone places, and in exchange you can cook for them or like take them out for dinner, you know,
God. Yeah.
or like clean their house and stuff like that. But I didn't know you could also use couch surfing as like an app that basically like, hey, I'm going there. If you want to join me, or like I'm going for a lunch. Do you want to come and talk with me and stuff like that? And basically like this guy came like to this like that he's free, and he came over and he's like, are you Ignacio's? And there's like, are you this one? So we kind of talked, and it was pretty cool. Uh, so then later on, we went
Oh.
to watch a little bit of the sunset and everything. And then because Ignatius had to go to his friend's house, that I stayed over the previous day, and he was like, it was so funny because the people was like, oh, do you know this girl? And he's like, no, I never met her. Well, he met me like the next day, but like we talked like for like a week and a half maybe prior to that.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
I mean, this is how yes theory works, you know? Like you meet people randomly, and
Yeah.
if it
Hi, how
if
are
it
you?
yeah, hi, how are you? I'm visiting Porto. Anybody's free? Uh, but yeah, like it was very nice, and I went to my previous hostel, and it was closed. Thank God I remember the code. I went and I asked for my luggage, and I went to the new hostel, and I met new people, and we went out for dinner. So
Yay.
it was a girl from Brazil, another girl from Canada, and the Canada girl is solo traveling, and the Brazil girl, she basically moved to Lisbon like already like 3 years ago, and she's living there currently, and she kind of came for like, give me a second. Can you hear me now? Okay. So she
Yes.
basically came for a yoga retreat in Porto, uh,
Okay. Why not?
like
Okay.
a seminar for yoga and how to learn and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah. So we
Very
went for
cool. Very cool.
dinner. Yeah, so we went for dinner, and after that I went to the bar to meet Ignatius and his friends. But I was like kind of already tired because like I had a big day. So I kind of left after one drink. Well, one water because I didn't want to drink. It was too late. I drank prior during dinner, like wine, so I drank prior. So I met
Good.
and I said good night, and yeah, I woke up the next day, and basically I was traveling to Lisbon, and I could explore, like I had the whole morning to explore because my bus was like at 1:30, and basically the bus station, the train station that I had to go to the bus station is like 5 minutes away by the train, and the train goes every half an hour, every 20 or half an hour minutes, and as well, um, and my hostel was on top of the train station, and so I could
Wait,
have.
what do you mean on top?
So it was very weird. So that train station on the side and on the top, it had a hostel. So
Oh, it's oh, I see what you mean.
it's in
It's
the same
built.
building. Yeah.
Okay, it's built on top. Okay.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
could see that this was used to be like an old hotel, like for like stayovers or like, but they made it into hostels because there are not that many rooms. I think there's 8 rooms.
Smart.
Um, yeah, so they made it into a hostel, which I think is very nice. They had a pub crawl that night, and I was thinking to go, but at the same time I was tired, and I was like, I came to this trip to chill, and I don't want to overdo stuff. And that was the night
Hmm.
that I called you, by the way.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, I briefly remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I took the bus at the train about 10 something, and I went to the train station. I was just sitting there with like a coffee and just staring at the sky and just playing Pokemon Go. and read my book
That
sometimes.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, and and then basically I was going down the escalator, and the escalator was apparently small, and my suitcase was bigger than the escalator, and
Ooh.
I put my uh like sideways, and I let go of the handle because I thought it's gonna stay because I want to take my phone out, and it rolled down the escalator.
Ooh. Oh my
My luggage
God.
just went like rocket launch. It just like rushed down, and then like
Holy
it
shit.
it just
Oh
flew
my God.
like 5 meters away from the escalator. People came running, like there was police there, like just patrolling there, and like they just came running, and I was just like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. It just felt.
Oh my God. Is your suitcase alive?
Oh yeah, it's very alive.
Okay. Thank God.
It
Are you alive? Okay.
no, I died out of embarrassment. I just literally went and sat down in a corner. I was like, I'm gonna stay here until my bus comes. And to be honest, that was a mistake because on the bus,
Why?
I suddenly wanted to go to the toilet really badly.
Oh, yeah.
And usually Flixbuses, I traveled by Flixbus, have toilets. Like I traveled from Netherlands to Belgium. I traveled in UK. They had toilets. I don't know why this one didn't have. So when they announced that we're having a 10-minute break for toilet, I just literally like I started like, like having a party in my seat, like,
Running.
yes, yes, yes. So when he like opened the door, I wasn't the only one who was rushing to the toilet, by the way. So we didn't
Oh
know where to go, so we were going blindly, but I was one of the first ones who was like running to the
my God.
this is too
This tale gets better and
too
better.
oh my God. So
Yes, you
in
were.
case you're in case you're wondering, that was like day 3 out of my 7-day travel.
Oh, please do continue.
So
I want to hear more. Like, I know, like, for the listeners, we were communicating on and off throughout her travels. So I thought I knew what happened, yet now I'm hearing all the crazy shit. So
no,
please do continue.
I kind of was in disconnect because I think I was very much in disbelief what the fuck was happening, and I needed time to process things. So
Yeah.
like
Okay.
I I didn't even post stories. Like I posted 1 or 2 stories during the day, but you know me, like when I travel, like I post stories like 50 per day.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
wasn't posting because I was like, I don't know how to talk about this because I still had the whole drama with the guy that he ghosted me, and I did send him the message on like 11th, which is like after my birthday. Which on my birthday he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna host you," and then he ghosted me, and I sent him a message on 11th. Hey, are you okay? Like, how are you feeling?
You're
Like,
alive.
I'm not even fucking asking like to host me. He
Yeah.
he never replied. He never even saw the message. Like, he purposely ignored me. But anyway, so we're traveling to Lisbon, and thankfully I had a host there. And so when I came to the station, we were like, "Hey, I came," and he's like, "Oh, amazing! I was somewhere and I also finished, so I can meet you up. Like, let's meet halfway through." So he doesn't have to travel through the whole Lisbon because he lives on the other side of the train station that I came. And if he's gonna go
Yeah.
through Lisbon, it's gonna take like a long route. So he told me to meet at one station, and I told him like, well, if I need to take trains, it's like I will have to, I think, change 3 times, and then I'll have to, and it's gonna be like 40 minutes long. And he's like, okay, that's too long. Like, anyway, so he told me to meet at another station, and I went there, and he got stuck in traffic. I was sitting on the grass, and I was just like chilling. So I decided to write in my notebook my feelings because I had to express myself. I was still angry about that dude.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was just writing that things down, and I kind of forget what I wrote, to be honest, because that's what you write for. Like you just need to let out the steam mostly. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't even matter sometimes what you're writing. So this guy came, and we went kind of to the center part, and he was like showing me around through the car the different parts of the city, which was very nice. And then we kind of like we were hungry, and because I kind of ate only breakfast that day, so you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Of course you
so
would be hungry. Of
yes,
course.
of course.
Yeah.
So we went to a restaurant. No, so sorry, we went to one of the viewpoints of Lisbon. We talked there a little bit and got to know each other and stuff like that. Because this guy was also from Yesteri, and I like it was the first time ever he hosted people from Yesteri. So I was a bit like unsure about that, but I was like, fine, you know, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Why not? Yeah.
Yes, if anything, I could always like, book a hostel. So we later on went to a restaurant. We were waiting for a bit for the restaurant because it was one of the popular restaurants, and we were waiting for our number, and it was a bit like a little bit high class, let's say that, apparently. And I'm like, oh, chill, amazing. Let me go with my jeans. But anyway, we went to a restaurant. We ate fish stuff and mussels and yeah, stuff like that. So like a lot of like fish stuff. Because Portugal is also famous for fish because it's near the oceans. And I was like, cool, Cyprus as well. But we have more meat,
Very
to be
cool.
honest.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. And we are like comparing Cyprus to Portugal. We're talking, and he was trying to teach. So basically, one thing that in Portugal I wanted to learn how to say thank you, and it wouldn't stuck in my brain. Like I couldn't like I couldn't learn the word. I was always like gracias, and gracias is in Spanish, it's not in
Yeah.
Portuguese. And he was like,
Can
"Oh, just
Can you
remember,
remember now?
yes, obrigada." It's
Bravo, Masha. Bravo.
yeah, so also Portuguese, why it was hard for me, it because they have like female and male words. So like there's different ending for females and different endings for males.
Why? It's like Greek.
No, basically like no, not that Greek, but like how the word itself, like you don't say she did that. It's more like she is already in the word as ending did that, you know?
Okay.
So that's what I mean. It's not exactly as Greek because we do mention the names and the like we say like if it's a female or male in the sentence, not in the word, but in the sentence. But they say it in the
Mm.
world, in the word.
In the verb. Okay.
Yes. So that's what I mean. Like I couldn't learn. So basically the correct way for me as a female to be obrigada, but and for males is obrigado.
Ah.
But he told me like a lot of people are using obrigado as well because it's way easier than obrigada.
Yeah.
So like it is completely fine to just say obrigado, and and even a lot of salespeople are like telling me obrigado a lot of the times. So yeah, why not? So he told me like basically for if it's gonna be easier because Portuguese did take Japan at one time, so arigato and obrigado is very similar in terms of like pronunciations, let's say that. So like that kind of stuck in my brain. Oh, arigato, obrigado.
Okay. Did not think about it. Did not ever cross my mind. But yes, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it will only cross your mind if you know history because I didn't know that, Portuguese kind of like had or like because they like Portugal is known as, like Columbus came from there and like the world explorers, they had tons of like ships, so they were exploring every part of the world. Um well, it is a very dark history. This like six was with slave trades, but
Yeah.
every country has their own dark history,
Yeah.
especially in Europe. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, so later on we went to his place, took a shower, and kind of we still chatted a bit, and then I went to sleep. Then I woke up the next morning, and he couldn't really show me around Lisbon because he was working, but he was working from home, so he didn't have to go anywhere.
Mm,
Uh,
I see.
yeah. So I have contacted another Yes Fam member and from like Lisbon, and he was showing me around. So I went to the city, and apparently those uh 2 or 3 days that I was at the Lisbon. So I was supposed to be only 2 days at Lisbon, like 2 nights, let's say. But because I realized last moment that basically I will not have a place to stay in in Porto because that's where my flight was from. I
Yeah.
asked the guy in Lisbon that I was staying at if I can stay one more night, if it's fine with him. And he was like, yeah, it's completely fine. And I could stay over. And I'm like, yay! I don't have to pay 50 euros to stay at a hostel.
Yeah.
So basically, I changed my ticket, for the bus ticket, and the change price was just 5 euros. So like I think 5 euros is better than 50 euros.
Definitely.
Yes. Um. So yeah, I stayed at his place. So I went to Lisbon. I walked around the place. The guy showed me around. I also met his girlfriend, was very nice. They showed me around. Well, they showed me around, but we kind of went from like place to place because it was like raining. They had a storm.
Mm.
So we couldn't do anything. We couldn't really do because the guy he works at the municipality and he works in the bikes section. So we could
Oh.
use the bikes and he could show me Lisbon for like on bikes. But due to
Yeah.
the weather, he couldn't. So, you know, so we kind
Okay.
of jumped from one place to another one. And apparently, in most places in Lisbon, you have to make reservation. We went to a coffee shop and they asked us for a reservation.
Oh.
And I was like, what? Why? Why?
Why?
Like, you don't need like in Cyprus, you don't need a reservation to go to for a coffee with a friend.
Yeah.
So that was weird for me, and that was let's say, a culture shock to me.
Same. I feel strange about it.
Yeah, but
Like
not
I don't
all,
know
all,
any
not
other
all.
European country. Yeah.
Yeah, but not all of them. But most of the places need reservation, and I'm like, they do take walk-ins. It's not that they don't take, but you will have to wait. Uh, but even coffee shops do reservations, and I was like so confused. I was like, what? Oh my
Why?
God.
What universe did I land in?
I mean, the coffee shop that we went to, it's vegan one, so everything is vegan there,
Um,
and even the food there, they also were serving food. So okay, but it was like it was still weird. I mentioned it a lot.
yeah.
So after that, the weather kind of like got better, and there was like again a free tour in Lisbon, like kind of similar to the one in Porto. Like like it's free, but like kind of you have to pay at the end. Like you don't have to pay, but they do the thing where like, oh, this is my only job, and they don't pay us, so I only work by whatever guys you tip us, and I'm just like, because sometimes like when they talk about that, some things doesn't make sense to me because they say that one said that, oh, I pay the company so you book through the company, and that's how like I get like tips from you guys. Uh, another said,
That
an-
sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm just gonna, slowly back away towards the end. And because it's very easy to get lost in Lisbon and, a big group of people especially. Yeah,
Yeah.
But anyway, I did that tour. I did learn that a lot about the dictator because they had a dictator there. And
Hmm.
so, yeah. Although I wasn't exactly very listening because I really wanted to just stay at a coffee shop and just like look outside the window. It was raining.
That sounds like a mood.
Yes, so I kind of just I after that, what did I do? Oh yeah, after that I went towards the castle because they have, was it that during that day? I'm confused.
Anyways, you went to the castle.
Yes, I went to the castle and it was close to 7. So they had 1 hour. Oh no, before that I was walking around the center and then I went to the oldest bookshop in the whole world. So they have a world record, like World Guinness record, that they're
Oh,
the oldest operating bookstore there is in the world, and it is
cool.
being located in Lisbon. And I was thinking to buy a book from there because they stamp it, and they
Oh,
stamp it that it's from, you bought this book from the oldest bookstore in the world and stuff like that. But I already kind of had 2 books on me. Then I brought one book with me that I was reading, and then I brought my Kindle. So like, it was kind of like too much books already in
yeah.
my suitcase and my backpack. And so I was kind of like, next time. And because I didn't really
Next
have
time.
yeah, I was like, I didn't really have a book that I wanted to buy and read. I did have one that it's called Spanish Love Deception, and I do like it, but it's not that I love it, like my favorite author, that Ellie Hazelwood, that I just read her books and I don't care, like I'm buying her books without even knowing the context of it. So I didn't have I swear to God, the last book I bought it just because it's a new book from my favorite author. I didn't even read the description.
Okay, next time our episode is on books.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. I think with this episode was supposed to be on books because there were like already questionnaires about books.
I yeah, I know we had, and I thought about it last minute, and also right now it would be a good time to mention that Ali Hazelwood and Ellen Armas, who wrote Spanish Love Deception, are in a relationship and engaged to be married. But you know what? Let's mention it next time.
Yeah, let's mention it next time. And I learned it during my trip, and I had a mental breakdown while I was on a trip. I think I was in the bus going to
Bro,
Lisbon, and I was
I
texting
said
him.
this to all of my colleagues, all of them, except my boss. And they all went crazy. They were like, what? What?
No,
Yes.
I
Okay.
was thinking like those 2 books are very similar, like not in the context of like authors and stuff like that, but like their vibes were kind of very similar. And I loved them, both of them, but more Ellie Hazelwood. And I was just like, it's very weird. And then I read the Instagram post that she posted online, and I was just like, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? What? And I just like send it to all my book friends, and I'm just like losing my mind.
Bless them. I hope they get married soon and
Oh,
have a beautiful life together and love each
yes.
other forever and ever.
Yes. Anyway, back to my Portugal stories. And after that, I
Yeah.
went to after the bookstore. I was like, let's go, because I saw on Google that the castle closes at 9. So I was like, oh, yay! I was like very confused at first. Why the castle closes at 9? But anyway,
Why
so I
not?
go there.
Why not?
Why not? So I go there and it was like 6:50, and basically they have a sunset tour that was only 250 extra on top of the ticket, and
Amazing.
it's 1 hour tour, so they talk about the castle. And oh my god, that history of that castle is fucked up.
What
It's
do you mean?
fucked up. So I don't remember the name, but
Yeah.
it is in the center, and it's on top of the hill. And that
Okay.
castle was so basically Portugal had a major earthquake and tsunami which destroyed the whole city, you know. So it mentions a lot of history books because the earthquake was 9 point something.
Oh,
So it
that's
was the I think the biggest earthquake in the history of Europe for sure. I don't know about the world. I know for sure in like in the modern history it's like one of the biggest ones earthquakes. And basically after the earthquake came a tsunami, everything was on fire. Tsunami kind of like destroyed everything, put down the flames and stuff like that. So anyway, the castle got destroyed. One tower stayed there. Later, the kings and dictators tried to rebuild it, but at some point they were giving up because they didn't want to spend money because it was costing too much money. So the castle, right now, if you look at it, it's like very under the filter. So a lot of the statues and columns and stuff like don't make sense because they were just put them in the 20th century just to look pretty. Some of the column like are very like even in one column there are different rocks of different like centuries. And there apparently like it was supposed to be a chapel, but there is like a fountain in its place right now. So the whole place is
what?
basically they were especially like I was listening to the history and literally the only response like I was like bruh, like what the fuck brother, like what the fuck. So it's like if you look at the stairs are not original. They were also recreated in the 20th century based on the letter that the Pope sent to someone, and they had like like a copy of the letter, and he was complaining that the steps were too big, so they recreated it
What?
based on that letter. And I
Wait,
was
what?
like,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
at some point I think like my brain just like went off, and I was just like thinking about like what the fuck. Like what's happening right now, like I came to Portugal to learn about history, not about some stupidity. the whole
I'm literally
the whole
speechless. Like,
the whole
like,
excuse. Also in the 20th century when they like the final time when they tried to rebuild it and they beautified it and put it under the filter, let's say that,
yeah.
apparently there were big walls there that were like part of like the castle that was built in the 19th century, and basically in the 20th century because they wanted to make it more touristy they literally just broke it all down.
How does that even make sense?
No,
What?
I, I
What?
was just like, what? And they were trying to uncover old history in the 20th century, and I'm just like, why?
What? What?
And he's
Why?
like, yeah, you can see that one left wall over there from like one of the buildings. It's yellow, and I'm like, but
At least
why?
he's not humor. Like, yeah, yeah, that's very, very, very normal decision. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I swear to God. And oh, I no, I was just like sitting there and blah blah blah, and they have a huge painting there about how Lisbon looked before the earthquake because apparently they were trying to some other countries came as like spies, and they kind of charted Lisbon because they wanted to take over it. So they charted the main buildings and who to kill and stuff like that, and they put the names there and stuff like that because they found this in Sweden, in Germany. It's one of those two countries that they were trying to make this nation, but then the earthquake happened, so kind of everything did it for itself. But anyway, the whole history of Portugal, at some points I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. Also, during the tour, there's apparently at some point during either 18th, I think either 17th, I need to look up when was the earthquake, because
Yeah.
before the earthquake, there was a huge history of the church killing Jews, because it was also during the Black Plague. So basically, the church was trying to make Jews Christians, and a lot of them were kind of like baptized, and they had to go to the church every weekend. And
Oh.
sorry, they were trying to make them Catholics. I think it's Catholics, yes. No, Christianity as well. So anyway, they were trying to make them Catholics, and they were killing Jews. And at some point, there's a church that basically got burned so much down so many times because they believed it was the wrath of the gods, because they were trying to convert so many Jews and they were killing them. The king was not, apparently the king didn't even live in Lisbon. He lived like an 8-hour ride in Sintra, which I wanted to visit, which is like the most beautiful castle and the most colorful castle in Europe.
Oh,
Um,
he lived
which
there because it's the most beautiful castle in Europe.
yeah, well, but it is
Anyways, go
like an
ahead.
8 hour. Yeah, it is like by car it is like, you know, a 30-minute ride from Lisbon. But by at that time it was just like by horses, and like by fastest horse I think it was like 6 to 8 hours. And by the time the king got notice that the church is killing people, about 10,000 people died in 3 days. And basically the yeah, so there's like a monument for the Jews in Lisbon, which I took a picture of, by the way. Yeah, I'm gonna show it to you later. But yeah, so a lot of the things were happening in Lisbon and in Porto, and also Porto. Apparently, it had city walls, but they were destroying it all the time. So the first city wall just got destroyed. Um, the second wall also kind of destroyed, but there's like a few left, but it was incorporated in the new wall, so you don't see the distinctions between the first, second, third, and fourth level. The third wall also is incorporated in the to the first wall that we see right now. So you kind of like basically everything is beautified as well. Also, some statues that were meant like were there for the dictatorship to kill people and to like abuse them were were destroyed, but they were put back in different places as a beautiful statue, like a sorry, not a statue, but a beautiful pillar for the tourists to take pictures of. And I'm just looking at this pillar, like the one day prior, I was looking at this pillar, like it's a very beautiful pillar. And the next day, when she mentioned that this pillar was used to hang people and make them
That's
confess
dark.
their sins and like everything, I was just like, you know what? Suddenly, the pillar is not beautiful anymore.
Very dark.
So
Very dark.
so I think Portugal was one of the longest countries that had dictatorship, like in
Yeah.
old ages. So that's why like a lot of the new history is about the dictatorship, and like they're trying to promote democracy and stuff like that, which is like fair. But I didn't know that Portugal was killing Jews as well. So it wasn't like, you know, like
The
the more
Church
I
of
learn about his
yeah.
yes, the more I learn about the church and everything, I'm just like it was killing the Jews all the time, and it wasn't only the church. And I'm just like, what did the Jews do to you? But anyway, so yeah, so the whole history about the Jews in Portugal, I'm just like, I never knew about this, and I'm like, oh my god, I feel like everybody was trying to exterminate Jews for many reasons, and I'm just like, for what? What did the Jews do to you?
Yeah, but why? Why? What did Jews like?
And also, another reason why they were trying to kill Jews is because because of, I told you it was during the Black Plague, and because Jews in their religion, they basically were cleaning hands, they were washing themselves, they were very hygienic, so less of them were being killed, and with the Black Plague. But the Catholics
Hmm.
didn't like it because in their mind, they can only cleanse themselves once a year, and being filthy was very like on trend, let's say that. And so they were dying, like dropping one after another one because everybody was dirty, not like, cleaning hands, not wearing masks.
I'm making the cringiest face you can ever imagine at the moment.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm just like, what the fuck? But anyway, so that was the first uh like full day at Lisbon. So the second day it was like raining so much.
Yeah, just going out about the
And so
just
I
yeah,
decided
just
to
casually dropping the conversation about the Jews and going on to the trip. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my god.
I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I don't know much about it because I literally went to Portugal without knowing anything, and then suddenly I hear like about the earthquake that happened that destroyed the whole city, and basically the king, because of his trauma, decided to leave. Fun fact: he decided to fuck off from Sintra, from the most beautiful castle, and to live in a
Yeah.
tent for his whole life. After that,
Huh.
after the whole earthquake and tsunami thing. So yeah, that happened. He lived in
Good,
his
good
in
for
his
him.
tent the whole life, and he basically was the king, but he stepped down from ruling, so somebody else was ruling at the time. And I I think he was he should just step down from the beginning because even with the Jews, he didn't do anything. And then the whole earthquake. So I don't think the ruling was for him. There were too
Yeah.
many disasters going on.
Yeah, he was like, fuck this shit. I'm
Yeah,
out. Thank you.
like this, it's not my calling.
Oh my god. Okay. We're changing
Yeah.
the section.
Yes.
Um,
So,
Go on. How was your third day in Lisbon?
well, for second full day, because I did come like on Sunday afternoon, like afternoonish after 6. So Monday. So this was Tuesday. So on Tuesday it was like raining so much. So I was like, you know what? I'm taking the Uber and I'm going to one of the biggest shopping malls in Europe, because the previous day when I was with another Yes Fam member, the one with the girlfriend, he mentioned, I asked him like where I can go because I wanted to go to Primark. In Cyprus, we don't have Primark, so whenever there's a Primark, I usually go and I try to buy underwear because they are really cheap and quite good quality, or like a few T-shirts and like accessories because they're very cheap.
Yeah.
So I went and they were like, "Oh, you should go to Columbus Shopping Center," which is like, well, at first, because there's always like a language barrier between us because they're Portuguese and like I'm from Cyprus, so we speak different languages. We're trying to speak English, but miscommunications happen when when you're not expressing.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So at first he was like, "It's the biggest shopping mall in the Europe," and I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no! I know this one. I know this one. The Berlin one is the biggest one. No, I know this one. I've been there, and Berlin is the biggest one." He's like, "Oh, no, no, no! I meant one of the biggest ones," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense." So I went to Columbus Shopping Mall, which is not like, it is a shopping mall. I took a taxi, by the way, there, because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not taking the trains and stuff like that, walking, because from the guy's house that I was staying in until the train station, I had to walk 20 minutes. Which
Hmm.
it is fine if it's not raining because it's down, like you're going downhill. But if it's raining, especially hard waiting, I was like, no. So I took an Uber and I went to the shopping mall. So I went to the
Yeah.
shopping mall. I just walked around. I was very confused because you know how in Cyprus we have only like the shopping malls in Cyprus, it's a building, and it is like one building, and you have two, and on both sides of the walls there are shops, right?
Yeah.
Columbus is very different. Just imagine circles
Oh,
meshed together and just like shops like in circles and just being connected by bridges and like having 3 floors and suddenly there's a metro underneath it as well.
that's an interesting architecture that I cannot imagine.
I
I'd
was
like
so
to be there.
confused. Yes, and I couldn't use Google Maps to find stores, so I was basically like, where the wind blows, I go.
But that's a good strategy. Okay. Yeah. How did
So
it go? What happened?
so I found Primark. So
Good.
yeah, at first I went to Pull and Bear, Bershka and Pull and Bear, and I looked around and I was like, meh, I cannot find any. Like I found a few things, but I'm like, meh, I don't really need them. I'm gonna go to Primark first, and then like if I need something, I'll come back.
Yeah.
And I went to Primark, and because when I was talking to the girl yesterday, like the previous day, she was like, "Oh yeah, it's the biggest Primark we have in Lisbon and stuff like that." And I went there. I've been in bigger ones,
Yeah.
like Madrid has like a bigger one, and I was like so confused. Like it was like because like the way she was phrasing it, I thought it was gonna be like levels, floors, and it is just like one floor. So imagine how in Nicosia, not so the Mall of Cyprus,
Yeah.
uh, era,
Yeah.
but one floor.
Okay.
That was the size of Primark.
That's a good size. It's not bad.
I've been in Madrid that had a Primark of 5 floors of that size,
That's a lot bigger. Okay. I
and
mean, maybe
I've
in
been in
Lisbon.
London in Oxford Street, and it was also 4 floors and like a bit smaller, but like it was like 4 floors and like you know. So when you tell me that it's a big Primark, I imagine with floors. So
Okay.
I could say I was kind of disappointed because I couldn't find shit there.
It's okay.
Like instead of like okay, so it is a very like stupid thing to say. Instead of like piles of clothes, I could like find like a few racks and stuff like that. I did find uh, a coat there, a winter coat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was 40 euros, like until the floor, and I was like, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Please don't ask me how the fuck I put it in my backpack, in my luggage. I had a
Okay.
carry-on luggage.
I already tried to ask. I don't know what Masha did. I just came to the conclusion that she's a magician. So we're going with that. Masha is a magician.
It
Let's move
only
on.
took me 1/4 of the suitcase to fit that coat.
I don't know what on earth he did, but
I
good,
squished
good
it.
job.
I squished it as much as I could. Anyway,
Yeah.
after that, I so yeah, I went to Primark. I shopped around. I went to McDonald's. I ate a bit. I was surrounded by teenagers. I didn't find it pleasant. And then I was like, And when I was in Switzerland, when I was having a layover, I saw that they had like different Starbucks. How do you say that? Like thermos, not the thermos, but tumblers, tumblers
I don't know what
for
this
cold
is.
drinks, for the cold drinks in Starbucks. The reusable cups, let's say.
Reusable cups. Let's call it that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and I was like, I saw something different. So let's see what Portugal has to offer. Because in Porto, I didn't like because I was in the airport Starbucks. I was like, there's nothing there. So it's like fair. It's an airport. Like they don't really serve like in quotation mark merch. Um, so I went into the center. I stopped at the wrong stop. I went and I saw that the Starbucks. I went to another mall apparently, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So
How?
then I was trying to go to the center, and for some reason I put the location of a different Starbucks, and that was also in a mall, and like a smaller mall, but like still. And I was like, no. Thankfully, like at the metro station, I bought like a 24-hour ticket. So it's like, oh, whatever, like I'm
Thank
gonna
God.
use it.
Yeah.
So I like used it a second time. I went to the metro and I went to the centers. Thankfully, this time I was the correct one. Um, so I went to the
And
Starbucks there, and they had like a few nice tumblers, but I didn't like love them, so I didn't
yeah,
buy them. But I did buy coffee, and I did like sit down, and I wanted to charge my phone because they had plugs, and I couldn't find my charger.
did you lose it?
I was like freaking out because I thought I lost it,
Yeah,
and I didn't know, and I was like, okay, so I still have 40%. It is completely fine. It was like around 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So I just sat down for like maximum like 40 minutes in the Starbucks, and I was just reading my book. I was just drinking coffee and I was reading my book, and then I went and
yeah,
shopped around a bit for the souvenirs and stuff like that. And because like my phone was dying, I thought I forgot the charger like at home, let's say, the place I
yeah,
was staying at. So I was like, okay, maybe I forgot it at home. Let's not freak out, because it's also like a dual charger. Like you can charge multiple devices.
yeah, yeah,
So I was kind of freaking out if I lost it or not, because that, and also it was my only cord, because I usually have one in my backpack, but apparently I didn't take it with me. I left it at home. Um, so yeah, I was like a bit freaking out, but it's okay. So yeah, I shopped around for like souvenirs and stuff like that, bought a few things, and basically I texted the guy, so like I'm gonna go back home, like to his place and stuff like that, because he does work from home. So I just sent him like I was updating him what I was doing, so not so
yeah,
you know, so he knows where I am as well,
yeah.
in case he wants to join me, you know. So I went to his place, and he was busy on a call, so he couldn't open the door.
Oh,
So I was just waiting for like 15 minutes outside, and I'm just like, yay, yay.
okay.
Thankfully, it was not raining, so but it was super windy, so I was like, nope, because I was trying to walk toward like where the ocean is, like where the pier is, so I can, and I couldn't really like go there. Like the wind was so strong, and because I had like bags with
Oh,
my coat, and I was just like, you know
yeah.
what? No, no.
No.
Um,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. So was just sitting there on the like at the where the apartments were, like the front door of the stairs. I was just waiting, and like he's told me like he finishes after 6, and he wasn't looking at his phone when I sent him the message, and I knew it, but I was like, I'm not gonna disturb him,
Yeah.
uh, in case, you know, maybe he's on a call and stuff like that. And I was just like, so after 6, I called him, and he didn't pick up, and I was like, oh no, please don't freak out, Masha, keep yourself in hand. My phone was also like 30%, like at that point, like, or 20 something
Yeah.
percent. So I was just like, oh no, oh no.
And
So
what
yeah,
happened?
so yeah, so after that, after a minute, I hear just the door buzzing. So he opened the door, and he just let her apologize. He was like, yeah, sorry, I was in it was in a meeting call, and we still have like a few clients left, and I have to finish them, and I wasn't looking at my phone. And I was like, hey, it's fine,
Yeah.
it's fine, it is completely fine. I understand because you're working.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that he was like, well, I'm gonna go to my parents because I need to go there, and well, his place is not far, like his parents' place is not that far away. It's like 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
And he told me like I can cook at his kitchen anything I want, or I can order. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna cook. And I was trying to make carbonara. And basically, uh, yeah, so I tried to cook, and apparently the stove wasn't like quite correct, and I was using it wrong apparently as well, because he had a glass cover, and I didn't know that I had to put it up to like it was like cooking, but it was like cooking very slowly as well. And even with like the glass door, like the glass cover up, when you were
Yeah.
cooking directly on the stove, like it wasn't doing much, to be honest. So the sauce that I was trying to make, it didn't form correctly, so yeah, I had
Yeah.
to throw it away, unfortunately. But okay, I just ate some pasta with cheese and eggs, which is like fine. But it
Yeah.
didn't. I wanted to make carbonara, like whatever.
It's okay.
So yeah, he came back. So the next morning, I was well, like I told you, I had time in the morning, but I was like, meh, I don't want to go my places because I'm traveling. So it is. train as well.
Ooh,
Yeah, so I
thank
spent,
God.
yeah, so I was a very cheapsake person and I decided not to pay for a hostel that night. So I spent the whole night at the airport again.
Yay. I know
Yes.
some people might say no and that this is crazy. I can hear them,
Oh, my
but
best friend, like literally, like she was just blushing me off about how dare I spend the night at the airport is dangerous. What was I thinking about? And I was just like, well, like I if I had to book a hostel, it would be last minute hostel again. Like even in like 3 days prior, the prices are still expensive. And the only difference is like 5 to 7 euros at that point. And
I
then I will
don't
have
think
to,
it's dangerous, though. I think it's
no, no,
rather
no.
safe. No?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So instead of me spending like on the streets, I went to the airport and I spent it because I know there's police there walking around. Um, so for me, it's quite safe in the airport, and I'm not the only one who's spending there the night. Um, there were many people who were spending the night there, to be fair.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like basically for me in my brain was that if I go to the hostel, like let's say it's 40 euros per night, and then I have to take taxi at so I will go to the hostel around 11 in the evening because that's when me and Ignatius finished like our drinks and stuff like that and walks and stuff like that. And 40 euros for a hostel to stay there from 11 until 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm staying in a place of other people. I'll be bothering them because I'll have to do my luggage. And usually people sleep, some of them sleeping at 11 already. And I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It wouldn't be much of a sleep. I would, yes, prefer to do a shower, but it wouldn't be much of a sleep. And then I'll have to take a taxi, which is another 20 euros on top of that to the airport, you know?
Yeah. That adds up a lot.
It adds up, but at the same time, like it's like 60 euros, let's say 60 euros minimum for like 4 hours of rest, which to be fair doesn't make much sense to me. Especially like if I'm missing the breakfast anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I spent the night at the airport and I was talking to some friends and basically I found other people I could stay at and they were like, "Oh, we can basically just text them right now and ask them if you could stay over the place." I'm like, "Yeah, but I will still have to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning." And they're like, "Oh, but what would you do all these hours?" Because like I had to spend like 10 hours at the airport at that time, like 12 hours. No, 10 hours,
Yeah,
10
the time
hours.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like one of my friends asked me, is like, oh, what you gonna do? And I'm like, well, I could always rearrange my suitcase because I will still have to rearrange them because my weight limit is 8 kilos anyway. So I'll have to put all the heavy stuff in my backpack.
Yeah.
I will have to do that. I will sleep a bit. I will read my book. I read a lot of the book. I think I read 1/3 of the book during that night.
Yeah.
I was listening to music. I was playing Pokemon Go. I was just walking around with my suitcase.
Pokemon Go always.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
God. Yeah.
yeah,
And
so I was doing that. I was just chatting with some other people who have insomnia. So it was, like I slept like I think 1 hour, like 20 minutes at the bench, and then it was getting cold because it was close to the door, and I was smelling pee as well. So just like I think I'll move.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so after that, I at 4 o'clock in the morning, I no at 5 o'clock in the morning because they started opening up the gates and stuff like that. But they opened up the gates for like a prior flight, and then I went to the guy there. Like it was empty, and I just like literally went up to him and I'm like, hey, like just a question, like I just want to know when the gates, so I know when to stand towards the gates because it does say like on my thing that it was supposed to be open like at 7:30. And I was like, hey, like weird question, like do you know like approximately the time when like when the sorry, not the gates, the check-in was gonna open for my
Yeah.
flight? And he was like, "Oh, I can check you on right now." I'm like, "Yeah, but my flight is like to Zurich, which is like at 8:30, and it's like in 3.5 hours, 4 hours." I was like, "Oh, no worries. I still have like 7 minutes left on like this spot, and I can just check you in, and you can just go through security and passport control, and that's it." I was like, "Oh, that's like really helpful." He didn't measure how many kilos my luggage was. He was like, "Do you have check-in luggage?" I'm like, "No, because my flight is to Cyprus, to Paphos airport. So I don't want to check in my luggage in case it gets lost." I was like, "Yeah, fair enough, no worries." And he was like, "Oh, you're flying to and I'm like, "Cyprus?" And I was like, "Yeah, but how's the airport is called?" I'm like, "Paphos?" He couldn't pronounce Paphos. he,
I'm
he
gonna
didn't know
say.
how to pronounce it. And I was like, "It's Paphos." And he was like, and I'm like, because he was like Portuguese, so I was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh, it's completely not, it's fine. I also cannot pronounce some of your words, so it is like fair enough." So he checked me in. He gave me the tickets, and I went my way. I went through the security. Apparently, the security, you don't have to take off your electronics out of the bag as well. I
Oh,
didn't know you don't have to, because the only time that I didn't have to take out my electronics was in Amsterdam, but people told me prior. And I know that I can take liquids because the only thing they check in not Amsterdam, in Netherlands, is that basically they check for drugs. They don't care about the liquids, so I could take beers with me. I could take whatever I wanted to, except powder stuff.
question. Did they check the electronics in Cyprus? Did you have to take them out here?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So went really easily. There wasn't any passport control check, which
Good.
was weird. And usually, like,
Yeah.
when they don't have passport control, it means that they're checking the passport in the check-in. So that's where they check the passports. So yay. So I just went there and I just bought a couple bottle of wines, of Porto wine, because Porto is very famous for the wines, because they have a dessert wine like Cumandaria. So I bought one in red and one in white, like very small bottles, like shot bottles, let's say, just to try
Yeah.
them because I didn't try them in Porto. So
Yeah.
that happened. And yeah, so I was just like on a flight back, and I was sleeping on my first flight that I was flying to Zurich. Zurich airport is a nightmare, just a
Why?
fucking nightmare. I also talked to a
Oh, I
few other of
remember
my
you telling
friends,
me. Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah. Go
I,
on.
I also remember talking to my some other friends that they're like, "Yeah, Zurich airport is fucking racist, and they're not gonna help you, and they're gonna laugh at you if you like," because they made like the flights so close to each other that a lot of the people like connecting flights are losing their time, and also like they on purpose delay the planes, and it's and they don't delay the planes prior to the gates being closed. They delay the plane when the gates are already closed and the plane, like, people are already sitting in the plane. And it's just like there were so many frantic people who, like, even on the passport control, because I had to go through passport control there. um I went like very calmly because I had the time and I had a coffee in my hand. I
Yeah.
went to Starbucks there, of course, Masha, without Starbucks. How fancy, no? Um, so yeah, and there was a frantic woman who literally, like, her flight was leaving in like 20 minutes, and
Oh.
her gate is the furthest away, and she had to go through different terminals because there's like 5 terminals in Zurich Airport, and one of them you have to
Mm.
take the train, which is like 5 minute ride, but still, it's anxiety when you're trying to catch a plane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So she was passing through and she was asking, was like, A25, is it far away? Like, is it far away? And they were smirking at her, like the passport control people. They were smirking at her. and they were laughing and they were answering her questions. They're like, oh, we don't know where the A25. We don't work there. And I was like, you are in a fucking airport. I know you're like security and police and stuff like that, but like you should know approximately where it is. But
Yeah.
anyway, and
Or
imagine
you
she,
can ask someone else.
yeah, and she imagine she came first and they were delaying on purpose. So I came afterwards and I came to the other lady. So like I had like I was like, let's say, a minute behind her. And for me, because I was very chill and I wasn't asking questions and I had a coffee in my hand and I was just drinking it at that point, because I was also sleep deprived.
Yeah.
So, and also like I had tons of anxiety because I broke the stove as my anxiety was not going away, and I was feeling shame. And then I had the 10-hour late, like I had like a 2.5 hour layover, which we were late, so we had like only 2 hours.
Yeah.
Uh, and anyway, and when I was asking, they were like, "Oh, they didn't announce the gate." So they announced the gate like, you know, like 1 hour prior to us flying away, just in case you're wondering. Um, but anyway, and I went there and I passed the security before the girl. Like she just scanned there, look at me, and let me go. While they were snarking at the girl, laughing at her, and um, not letting her pass. Like they were on purpose, like were taking their time to scan her documents.
What lovely people.
Yes. So I went down and I sat down and I later see the girl running like further away from where I was.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah. And apparently some other ones that had to go through um like checking their luggage again, and there was another person who literally was so anxious. He was, and I think he had short sight as well, so he couldn't see
Mm.
far away, and he was like asking the people like where his gate is, and they were like kind of like, oh, it's just there, like they weren't exactly helping him,
Yeah.
like they were just pointing him a random direction, just run there at that point.
Oh my
And
God.
yes, when I came to my gate, I said hello to the ladies there, and basically the ladies like had an extra thing, and basically it says passport control, and I was just like, I just went from applying passport control, you know. I was like, okay, and they were like, are you flying to Cyprus? And I'm like, yes, I'm flying to Cyprus. And they're like, your passport. I'm like, Not like, can you give us your passport? They need to check it, like your passport." And I'm like, here you go. And basically they were stamping them free to go and something like that, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like very weird. And but anyway, I was on a flight. I was the only one in my aisle, and I was like, thank God.
Thank God.
I Yes, I came to Cyprus, and yeah. So yeah, I came to
And here
Cyprus.
you are. Welcome back to the island.
Yes, and I had to drive through like I had to drive 2 hours to go to the capital, because I was like, I'm not going back to my hometown. My hometown is like on with the highway is 3 hours away from the airport. And because I work in the capital, I had to leave the next morning, like wake up and go to the capital, like, 2 hours as well,
Yeah.
traveling time. So I was like, I'm not. So I called my best friend, and like prior, like a week, even before flying, I asked her if I could stay at her place, because I'm
Yeah.
not doing, driving on the road 5 hours. First of all, petrol is expensive. Second of all, the
Yeah.
time spent, no. So she was like, yeah, of course, no worries and stuff like that. And so yeah, I came to her place. Also prior, I was like driving for 2.5 hours, I think, because there was a traffic jam on the highway. Somebody got into an accident, I believe, or like the road was, I don't know what was happening, because it was still dark,
Yeah.
and I was like sleep deprived at that point. So I was
Yeah.
I was so very like angry at that point. And after that, people, because that road is like, up the hill at that point from Limassol.
Yeah, yeah,
So a lot of the cars were going 80 because they couldn't, pick up the speed.
yeah,
And I couldn't go on the fast lane because there were so many cars like one after another one, and there wasn't space for another car to go in. And
yeah,
I didn't want to cause another accident. So yeah, I was going 80 on the highway, which it is fine. I called you, and I was like, and we
yeah.
were talking. So the time was passing, but it was still like annoyance.
I know, but it's okay. Better safe than anything else. Safety first, yeah.
But yeah, this was my whole Portugal trip. I love how we're gonna talk about different things, but in the end, I was just talking
No,
about the trip.
it's okay. We're catching up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, I was drinking coffee.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folks,
Oh,
um, yes, this was us catching up. Um, it was a chat between friends, and Masha told us her amazing adventures.
yes.
We should Masha, let's do a petition for Masha to write a book about her adventures. Shall we?
I
I
need to
think
first post it on Instagram. I promised people that I will post my stories on the Instagram, and I still didn't because I'm too tired.
well, here's your opportunity. People, please let's bully her into posting.
Oh
Shall we?
no.
No, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Like bullying is a very serious thing. Let's not
Yeah.
bully her.
Let's
Or
pressure her. Let's
promote
put
let's
pressure.
promote the idea, yeah. Yes.
Oh no. I will do it like the one in Italy that I did with the highlights. I'm gonna do the same
Yeah.
one. Also about update about the guy, like he ghosted me and he never saw my messages, so I blocked him. I didn't even want to confront him, just being like, you were an asshole. You could at least like because you invited me to your house. It wasn't like me asking you if I could come. You like through the
Yeah.
chat, he was the one who was like, oh, you can just stay over. Like you don't have to book hostels, you know. So you had the responsibility to host me, and you could always find me a place or like even like book me a hostel if you
Yeah.
couldn't, because you had the responsibility. I even if like if you even if you had infection and everything, you still had the responsibility because you invited me over.
Yeah.
I understand and comprehend
So
if you had an infection
yeah.
and you couldn't do much things, but you still, had the responsibility.
Regardless, despite this guy and this situation, shout out to all the kind people that helped Masha throughout her journey in the
Yes.
airport, outside the airport, in the hostel. Like throughout your adventures, you mentioned several people who showed you true kindness.
Yes, and I'm
And
happy for that. And I'm grateful for that.
yeah, so despite this guy, there are good people out there, and shout out to them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Shout out to all of them. Shout out to the first hostel people, to the two girls, and to the receptionist. Shout out to, oh my God, Ignacio. Shout out to the tattoo artist. Shout out to the other two girls in the second hostel. Also, shout out to the reception of the second one because they provided me with like
come,
not time, but like I asked them if I could take the you wrap
Kasha.
foods with it, but basically like to diafanes.
I don't know what this is. Food
Uh,
more?
no, like a thin like plastic layer that you use to cover things
Food
with,
wrapper.
yeah, food wrapper. But I used it for my leg because you need to
Oh,
wrap your leg in it
your
for like
tattoo.
3 days.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
so I asked them to provide me with some, so shout out to them for that and not looking at me weirdly for that.
Nah,
Yeah, and shout out to Miguel who hosted me 3 nights in Lisbon. I fucking love you, and I'm so sorry I broke your stove. And shout out to the other two people who showed me around Lisbon as well. Well, tried. It was raining so much, so they couldn't, but I love you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Shout out to kindness. Be kind, people. Be
Yes.
loving.
Help other
Yes.
people in their need.
Yeah. And let's all have more adventures.
Mm, good ones.
Yeah.
Let's go for good adventures with good.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully, most of our adventures. I mean, bad things cannot stop happening, but
Yeah.
hopefully we'll focus on the positive stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
So,
there's gonna be more positive adventures in your case, and just take it step by step.
yeah, exactly. So, thank you guys for listening. This was Masha and
This was
Mimi's
a big
podcast.
rant. Yes.
Yeah, the MNM'S podcast. Yeah, we're catching up on this episode. Yeah. Um.
Yes.
So yeah, stay safe, stay alive, stay healthy, uh, and keep being kind to each other.
Yes. Enjoy your
Yes.
time, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll try to post more regularly, but I'm not promising anything.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.